Hey there, welcome to episode 110 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo. We are recording this at 11:30 a.m. on Friday, April 4, the 4th of April already, 2025. Today's title, as I hope you can see somewhere or read somewhere, however you choose to read, Disrupting Vegas. In a good way, Disrupting Vegas. The Cafe Genius audio program, in case you are not familiar, Cafe Genius Impresarios, is named for three different things. Cafe Centro was the coffee shop in South Park. It was literally a park. South Park in San Francisco, very near what is now the Oracle Baseball Stadium, Baseball Park, whichever one they call it. Cafe Centro, spelled with two F's, was where startups start. It's famously where Jack Dorsey was working on his Twitter phase, I suppose. The original founders of Twitter probably have something to add to that story, but Jack Dorsey was there working away on Twitter back in the day. If you did visit Cafe Centro, that would sometimes come up in conversation. Oh, Twitter started right here. Other things happened, though, were more worthy, perhaps, at the Cafe Centro, which today, from all accounts, is no longer in business, unfortunately. An homage to Cafe Centro Genius for the Genius lunches that we used to have back in the downtown project days. We used to gather various people working on various things, whether they were part of a startup or, like me, more of a spectator traveling the world on behalf of my employer, Intel Corporation at the time. Just get together, see who's working on what's going on, what's up, what's down, and so on. And finally, impresarios. Those are people doing cool things. Spelled with two S's. It is a correct, though uncommon spelling. Thus, the Cafe Genius Impresarios. It's all about the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of Greater Vegas and beyond. And obviously, the people in it. As usual, a solo episode today. One of these days, we'll get guests back on. In the meantime, hopefully, wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, a summary, which I will read to you. And today I only have the usual three. It used to be two, now it's three shameless self-promotion links. I didn't want to go too crazy plugging various resources because it would be an incomplete list at best. And it is highlighting one of the issues that I will bring up here again, but that's only a part of what it means to be disrupting Vegas. The summary then: perhaps a city as a startup from the downtown project days was in this general area of thinking, but it is time to ask whether the people who consider themselves to be a part of the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, the startup scene, if you like, although it's bigger than that, are pointing any of their attention toward, I have a little typo here, let me fix that, toward making a better, Greater Vegas, or at least pondering what that might mean. Let's do some of that here, the pondering. The links, as usual, like I said, the shameless self-promotion for your host. And by the way, I put host on there. If you do happen to see these links wherever you're finding this episode, if you can read that it's host, because if I do have guests on, I would like to also promote whatever they're working on. So we'll keep those separate for the casual observer. Buy Dan a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo is my profile page. I've had this for a very long time now. You don't have to spend any money at any of these. By the way, profile page with the links to my various audio programs, GitHub repositories, my favorite coffee beans, which are Amazon affiliate links, by the way, and a couple of other things, and some biographical information at the top. So check that out if you want to find links to my various 4 normal main audio programs, possibly a 5th in the form of Hugo Floss, which is just getting started, literally just getting started, episode 0 and not much more. And the posts in the next link right here, Buy Me an Update, is a microcast, 5 minutes or less, posted exclusively on buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo/posts. So you could get to that directly here or from the profile page or from the top of the Buy Me a Coffee page on your normal desktop browser. So rundown of the previous week's episodes and whatever is coming up next, announcements and so on, all in under 5 minutes. It's a little experiment. I think we're on episode 20 or 21 coming up on Mondays. Finally, the other coffee website, Ko-fi or Coffee, Ko-fi, hyphen or dash, it's the key next to the 0 on your pretty standard QWERTY keyboard or wherever you might find that key. Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo. Both are both buymeacoffee.com and ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo. That's always DANHUGO, no spaces. They don't host audio, so I post a textual update there at least once a week, sometimes more. Sometimes I post a photo or another image or something else at either of these as well. So if you're bored, you can check them out. I've had them for years, like I said, and no obligation to spend money. Although if you do, any monies will definitely go towards coffee. It's what powers all of this. So let's get started so we can get finished. Where disruption? The notion that the Greater Vegas area is to become an international innovation hub on par with, no, in fact, to render Vegas the next Silicon Valley has been floating around for a couple of years now, maybe longer. I've only lived here for 12 years. I moved here from Silicon Valley, by the way, if you're not familiar with my background. Software engineer, technologist, computer nerd, maker, hackathons, all that. I have been clear with my position on this that it is not strictly true that we're going to be the next Silicon Valley, but we can be a greater Vegas, or a better Greater Vegas if you like. However, Greater Vegas can still enable and encourage innovation as any city could and should. Innovation need not be exclusive to cities that decide to make it part of their marketing message. The Harry S. Reid, I think, Tech Park with Blackfire Innovation and the Cooperate co-working space and whatnot, the International Innovation Center in downtown Vegas, and the Innovation District, and various up-and-coming programs, groups, and organizations, and resources that may or may not make the next Silicon Valley. I've already suggested that it won't happen, but which constitute the platform, or perhaps the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem that lifts ideas. So it may or may not be the next Silicon Valley, but we can still have ideas and we can still encourage people to pursue them, and we can provide the basis for their ideas to be uplifted. Some of the efforts we hear about, probably by chance, often we really need that asset map, are interesting and actually do focus locally, like self-driving vehicle companies and whatever comes out of Zero Labs Accelerator and their focus on hospitality and gaming. This is certainly a good place to focus on those, by the way. But disruption means changing the status quo, doing it different, raising eyebrows, and learning by doing with feedback. The people of Greater Vegas, locals or just visiting, should be taking notice of this disruption. So where is it? It's a good question. So what is disruption anyway? Disruption in these modern times usually means implementing outside the box. Not just thinking outside the box. People say that a lot, but actually taking action, sometimes with positive results, always with some education. Hopefully we learn from mistakes as are made. Move fast and break things is famously bad advice, but represents one take on disruption. Tariffs are another example that might not work out, but let's look local. Let's not think on those terms at that scale. The Greater Vegas area is ripe for disruption, rife with possibilities. With so many visitors, as many as 40 million each year, according to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and that's one of the things they keep track of, 40 million. With the existing fun economy and its hospitality and gaming and other implications, we have a fairly obvious space to work in. Add to that space these. The ever-present challenges around water in our oasis. We need more water in our oasis, by the way. Traffic and transportation. They jokingly say here the state bird or the county bird or something is the orange traffic cone. Maybe it's the state plan. I can't remember exactly. The joke, though, is that they are everywhere. We have no issues with traffic cones going extinct in the Greater Vegas area. And transportation, just getting around. As you may have heard through my travels and yours, I am a big fan of public transit. I use it all the time. Public transit in Greater Vegas could be much better. Homeless and unhoused people. We do have a certain population of people who, for whatever reason, are making their home on the streets of the Greater Vegas area. Human trafficking, that is a problem in Vegas. It's advertised often. It's hard to say what is being done about it, so that's something where some actual innovation could take place. Food and farming, especially given the shortage of water and the lack of some resources sourced here in the greater Vegas area. For example, there is very little, if any, chicken farming in the Vegas, certainly in the Southern Nevada area. So anytime eggs are difficult to come across, they are even more difficult to come across here in Vegas. So they tend to be more expensive since they have to be trucked in. So food and farming in general, access to water for farming, low water usage farming, indoor farming, et cetera, et cetera. So food and farming, access to food in general, also interesting. Innovation and maker spaces get some attention infrequently here in the greater Vegas area, but the notion that you can be an inventor of many different things and try them out here in the Vegas area. So maker ethos, the maker concept, maker spaces, driving innovation, encouraging it. I'll remind you, I'm the managing director of Innovate for Vegas Foundation, a Nevada nonprofit 501c3 public charity. Something to think about. All things education. Nevada frequently ranks fairly low in most surveys related to education. The children are our future, if I've understood the lyrics to a song correctly. Teach them well. News and information sharing. In general, the news outlets in the greater Vegas area in Clark County, Southern Nevada, are old school. They're essentially print media, but published on the web. Tons and tons of advertising. I don't really have a lot of great things to say. There's no innovation happening as far as information sharing, making people of the greater Vegas area more aware of what's happening, which is the next bullet point, community awareness. So news and information sharing could just be generally better. If you're visiting the greater Vegas area, if you're here for a trade show or some other aspect of the fun economy, it'd be nice to be able to figure out what's going on here if it isn't crime or building or tearing down a sports arena or whatnot. So my opinion, we don't do a good job at reporting the less dramatic, although no less important for many. Community awareness is just being aware of what's going on, knowing what's happening in your own backyard, as they say. There are various little attempts here and there, but I don't think it's a cohesive notion that's been kind of assembled. And if this is a smart city, we should actually know about it. I don't think they haven't gotten there yet. And I will point out the My Muni project at Innovate for Vegas Foundation focuses on exactly that. And my own startup will take the work on the My Muni initiative and apply it to a commercialization, a deployment for fun and profit that's called In Las Vegas. So we can enable the contributors who make the My Muni project and initiative happen. They can be involved in a first deployment for maybe a return on their investment of volunteer time, effort, and expertise. Speaking of jobs and employment, we can make those easier to find, and we can talk more about them since Southern Nevada often leads the nation in unemployment rates. I think we're still around 5.2%, something last time I looked. And there's more. There are more places. The greater Vegas area is indeed a city and a county. There are some unincorporated parts that are still called Vegas. They're not actually in the city of Las Vegas proper. There's North Las Vegas, Mesquite, Henderson, of course, a couple of other spots that are a little bit farther away, Enterprise, Paradise. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on, but these are just normal places. Not everything is the Strip. The Strip is actually a pretty small fraction when you get right down to it. A lot of people just don't know what's happening. They don't know that there's plenty of opportunity to try out innovation ideas here. So we can disrupt Vegas. As I said out loud during the Downtown Project days, circa 2015, the various startup efforts could absolutely benefit by collaborating, using each other's products and services in real-world scenarios here locally to co-create and maybe shine some light. If you are trying to get a startup started and it's a product or service that would benefit actual human beings, especially others who are working on startups or orthogonal efforts, it might be helpful if you said, hey, do you want to be in my early adopter group cohort since you live here? And then you can actually know about each other. You get to see what other people are working on, how they're doing it, and how one can help the other, and so on. I found that to be left on the table. I think that was a mistake. Doing something disruptive, changing the way the status quo works, or making something new that actually works. Sometimes the status quo isn't cutting it. With the ability to see, feel, and hear about the impacts that your notion is making, having, positive or negative, can be invaluable. So disruption is good if you can actually talk to or hear from the people who are feeling the disruption, or who are impacted by it, or who can observe it and say, that's bad. Or, ooh, that's good. That makes a really positive difference. Everything is better now in our smarter smart city because you chose to disrupt Vegas. How about some starting points? We have some things in place to get you started. I know some people believe that I am a doomsayer in this regard, but indeed I am hoping to encourage more of these things that we do have, and I would like more discoverability. Indeed, that's what I'm working on. It is the focus of one of my startup efforts, about which I have spoken previously, including moments ago. The Nevada Go-Ed, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, is doing some good, or at least potentially good things, sort of. I think no one is excited by government lately, so we can say that they're trying, at least. I'm not necessarily satisfied myself, but we'll see. They are working with Generator, the number 8, Tor, is a national accelerator brand, on some sustainable energy startup efforts here locally, with a cohort sign up with Generator just closing at the end of February in 2025. So we'll see what they come up with. The state government already works with Startup NV and in its various offshoots. I'm not a fan of Startup NV myself, but it is what it is. For better or worse, and who knows, tax credits to enable Hollywood 2.0 might come to pass in the session of the legislature. Legalization of drones and autonomous vehicles many years ago has led to Vegas being an interesting area to try out these sorts of things with real customers, with real people moving around on real streets and hopefully not causing real trouble. And there's more. There are more things that, why are you not hearing about them? Well, yeah, scroll back a little bit and listen again. Closer to home, Zero Labs and Tech Park, so Zero Labs hangs out at Blackfire Innovation, which is in the Tech Park, are enabling hospitality and gaming startups, along with local innovation, education, and fun economy in general. Hospitality and gaming are part of the fun economy, but Zero Labs is focused on those areas, and in fact, they have what they call the Innovation Launchpad, which cohort 5 might be coming up, and I might sign up to try that, see what it's all about. It's a 3-day program to be a launchpad for your innovation, I suppose. We'll find out. It remains to be seen whether these sorts of programs here locally and state-driven programs will catch on entirely. I'm not saying that they're ghost towns, but I'm saying that they don't get the attention. So it's a vicious circle. Nobody talks about them. They don't get much attention. So nobody knows if they're successful. And then nobody talks about them. And they don't get much. Yeah, you see what's going on. But they exist, which is important. There should be more, not fewer. So hopefully more things start to happen. Not that this is going to be the next Silicon Valley. Not that we want to gentrify the greater Vegas area and make the people that are the fun economy need to go find housing elsewhere or to leave the area completely. But innovation can take place just about anywhere, and we can be a part of enabling that. So what are these? You may be asking, why do I not know about these things, the things I just mentioned? The issues are several, but basically the culture of Southern Nevada, in particular, is 100 years in on the fun economy in some form. This doesn't mean there aren't other opportunities, other possibilities, but it does mean that crime, politics, traffic, gaming wins, and more recently, anything having to do with existing and incoming professional sports and associated events and lawsuits get the attention. What you should be leaning in on at this point is that information sharing, discovery, and general introspection focus are real possibilities to disrupt this trend. I've mentioned before when talking about Silicon Valley that I did a whole episode on Vegas as the next Vegas. If you can scroll through and find out, I think it was 85, 87 episode. that local media there in the Silicon Valley days, and by the way, I moved to Silicon Valley in 1993 after graduating from college, and that was essentially when the economy turned around a little bit. There was a big uptick in investment dollars and talent and H-1B visas and moving fast and breaking things, all manner of chaos in Silicon Valley got its start coincidentally in 1993 because I moved there, maybe. I'm not going to deny that. Local media there covered startups and the innovation culture and the entrepreneurial ecosystem daily in many forms and with real focus, not just a little, human interest story, 2 minutes on. No, this was a real thing. It was treated like a real thing, which helped the people living there and interested in moving there to understand the terrain as it was forming. Knowing just what's cooking is usually a good thing. And I'll know that the people of the greater Vegas area who have control over such things, I know I will know they're serious when I start to see front page news about the entrepreneurial innovation system on our local media. Move the crime and politics, same thing, below the fold. Let's start talking about some success stories. They don't. So look around. There are 2 parts to this notion I'm suggesting here. Here they are. Identifying problems or gaps more generally, areas that could be disrupted in a positive way, and what you might do with that. Looking local means we are probably somewhat familiar with the possibilities, either directly or through friends and neighbors, and we can observe results directly. So you can actually look around and say, this seems like it could be improved. Let's do something about it. Let's actually try some ideas. Let's talk to the people that are there. We can co-create. We can implement, and we can see what happens. Second point, people who want to be involved in implementing new disruptive ideas are either interested in the ideas and the notion of being disruptive and trying something new. That's where I am. Or they're interested in the financial gains. Like, we'll be rich. There are some of both, and that's the way the world is. Finding some from either camp. And by the way, you could probably be in both. I mean, who doesn't like to get money? But it's not the primary motivation in my case. Coffee beans, I guess, are arguably. Finding some from either camp can be a challenge in the greater Vegas area. A lot of people right away looking at what's in it for me, where's the free food, etc. It's my personal experience. I'm hopefully wrong. Hopefully I've just not yet encountered the innovator mindset in vast quantities. They're out there. We are out here. We're out here somewhere. We just don't know where to find each other necessarily. But finding some in the former group, those innovative inventors who just want to see if it'll work, especially closer to the beginning of their innovation journey, will help to cultivate the culture. If there's an outlet for this motivation, like, I wonder if there's a problem that could be solved, and if I could be a part of the solution, and if it would work. And I wonder, hey, you think the same thing. Let's see if we can make it happen. Let's do it. So consider that. You could be helping to change the world a little bit if you get that going. There are actually people doing interesting things already in Greater Vegas. As I have mentioned time and time again, and as I myself am working to address, discoverability can be a real challenge here. Still, getting out and about and looking around, talking to people, doing the old networking thing can help to locate people who are not necessarily hanging out and tooting their own horns on LinkedIn. I've kind of given up on LinkedIn for the most part. With around 2.5 million people or so living in Clark County. I think the census was like 2.3 million, so I'm assuming it's grown a little bit. So we'll say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 million in Clark County, which does include Greater Vegas and more. You might be the only one with a particular pain point and gumption to address it, but probably not. There might be 1 or 2 others, maybe even more than that. Get out there and look around, find out. Finally, remember that, I'm going to fix this right now. I typed than. Finally, remember that disruption can be larger and more impactful than you planned for. And while some of the bigger and more destructive startups out there did aim big out the gate, and I'm looking at you, Facebook, but there are many others. Even Google has turned out to be kind of a jerk when you really think about it. Starting local, though, can help with starting with less. So if you want to only change your city or your locality, the area around you, you don't need $1 billion of investment to get started, right? You can even bootstrap yourself. You can get together at a coffee shop and turn ideas into action and so on. You can trade less for capital. You can keep more control of your own company, at least initially, up front, and learning more about your customers or users and what the real disruptions might be. If you can talk to the people around you, and especially as you deploy version 1 and version 2, and they can tell you that, hey, this is really working. Oh, this is really bad. If you can hear that directly from people who know you, you will have useful and fruitful conversations, and they will tell you when you're making it better. Speaking of, you can actually contribute to making a better Las Vegas. And by extension, because Vegas is bigger than you think, the world. So that's my suggestion. Oh, it's a short episode today, under 27 minutes. The idea, under 28, I guess. The idea is to think about what's going on around you. I know a lot of people want to build a startup that will, they want to do it in Vegas because it's cheap housing. Hopefully that stays true. It's not so cheap though. Don't forget that. They want to build things here and deploy them across the universe. And that is fine, but you can also build things here that benefit here and then deploy those things across the smaller universe and benefit other places and so on. It's just something to think about. I wanted to plant that seed. I don't know that people look in their own backyard. I know not in my backyard is usually the thing, but if you do look around, if you happen to peer up away from your laptop long enough, you can see that, oh, there's actual things that I could be a part of making better here. And we can take what we learn, and don't forget, 40 million people are visiting. So if you can build something that can lean in on that fun economy participation, you might have a lot of feedback from a diverse set of people, cultures, and hometowns, and interests, and challenges. And you might end up with a little bit more inbound marketing potential than you thought about initially. So if you disrupt Vegas, you might get other people noticing when they go back home and say, oh, why can't we disrupt where I am? And hopefully they'll be able to contact you. And that is where I'm going to leave it today. Oh, we're coming up on the clock. The wall clock time will be about 30 minutes. We'll see what truncation of silence will do. And that is all I have to say. Happy Friday, April 4. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.